All right, I'm here with my homie Ant. We met
2010, 2011, something like that.
Yeah, 2010, 2011. We met in Camp Hill, and good brother. And then we seen each other. We was up there in Camp Hill book for a few years, and then we seen each other probably about a month or two ago, and been bumping into each other on and off for the past 2 months, and bumped into him today, and we just started busting it up. So, how old are you?
34 years old.
34 years old. And where are you from?
I'm from right here, North Philadelphia. Born and raised.
Any kids?
Yes, one child, 15 years old.
How's your relationship with your child?
I'd say it's not rocky, but it could definitely be better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When's the last time you seen him?
Oh man, I haven't seen my son for about a month and a half.
Okay. How's the relationship with you and his mother?
Really don't have a relationship. Now that he's 15 years old, just pretty much deal directly with him. We have, baby mama call me when she needs some things, and I try to supply it.
Yeah.
Best as I can.
That's so much easier when the kid gets a little bit older and you could deal directly with them, as opposed to having to deal with their mother, especially if you guys don't get along. I know, shit. I'm glad that my daughter is at the age where I can deal pretty much directly with her. She's only 10, but I could call her phone. She could call my phone. I don't necessarily have to go through her mother unless, unless it's, certain circumstances. And that makes stuff so much easier.
Yes, it does.
Because for so many years, it was extremely difficult to co-parent with her, so that makes things a little easier. How can you tell me a little bit about when we met? Like I said, we was both booked. What were you in jail for?
I was in jail for selling heroin.
Okay.
Yep.
And how much time did you do?
I did about 5 years.
All right. And how was that? Well, how was that experience of you doing time?
My experience, I'd say I matured very much. When I went upstate, my mentality was, I didn't follow rules in the street, so I wasn't going to follow rules up here. And due to that very stupid mentality, I ended up doing 5 years instead of only 2.
Yeah.
So one thing I will say about that experience is that I learned a lot from the older guys. It was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
I definitely, like I said, I matured, and it gave me a different outlook on life, especially being up there with guys that were my age and younger that were never going home. Yeah. Guys that I actually developed a very good relationship with, guys that I ended up looking at like my brothers, man. Being in prison, I like to I'd say for me, you get comrades in there. It's kind of like being at war. You're with men, and everybody's going through a struggle. We're all going through the same struggle, trying to make the best out of it. And it just changed my life. It changed the way I saw life. And like I said, I matured a lot during that time, I would say.
Yeah, it's a brotherhood.
It's a brotherhood.
Because everybody's going through the same struggle. Everybody, it don't matter if you have $10,000 on your books, everybody's fucked up. You know what I mean?
We're all on the same level.
Nobody gets to see their family at night. We all gotta deal with all the bullshit that comes with being in the penitentiary.
Yes.
How was your childhood?
My childhood, man, was very I'd say it was screwed up, man. you know, not too. I don't really like to talk about it much because, you know, I'm not the type of person that like to play the little violin and stuff like that. But these are just the facts. I had a very, very rough childhood, man.
Yeah. Was it a two-parent childhood, one-parent childhood?
It was a two-parent childhood up until I was about 9 years old.
Okay.
My mother got pregnant with me when she was 15 years old. My dad was 17 years old.
So they're both children.
They were kids.
Yeah.
Growing up poor, them, and you know, by the time my dad was like about 23 years old, he had 3 kids. We were 5 of us living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was rough, man. It was definitely rough, and I grew up poor, man.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Sad to say, man, that I don't.
Yeah.
My childhood, like I said, man, it was very rough. My mother didn't know how to show any kind of love. My mother was very like cold person. Yeah. Due to her childhood. Yeah. And so, you know, I grew up. I have a baby brother. My baby brother was like about 2 years old. My father died, so he never got a chance to meet my father. But for the first 7 years of my life, it was just me and my one brother. And you know, my father favored me over my brother. I would say because my brother wasn't athletic. He wasn't. He was more of a artistic person. He could draw real good, and I want to say that me and my brother both had characteristics of our father. My father was a very good artist. He did a lot of like graffiti, stuff like that. He rapped and all of that, but he was a very artistic person, music and stuff like that. If you remember when I was upstate, I was into the music very heavy. Yep. But yeah, so my father favored me. You know, I got straight A's in school. I was a good-looking kid. I was athletic. I want to say I was everything that a father wants for the little boy. Yeah. So, you know, my father favored me, and my mother didn't like that very much. So, you know, our house was divided. Okay. Now, did that make your mother favor one of the other children more? Okay. Yes, she favored my brother more. The same brother you're talking about? Yes. Yeah. And she actually told me to my face that she didn't like me. Okay. My father was on drugs, even though he was never a drug dealer. He was on drugs. He worked every day of his life, but he was on drugs, and he used to beat on my mom. Yeah. My mother is the kind of person, like I said, she's very cold, and she can really make you feel this big. So that's what she did to my father. She used to make him feel this big, and his retaliation for that was to beat on her. And that's what I grew up seeing. I grew up seeing my father and my mother fighting, and it was a normal occurrence to me. Yeah. I grew up the same way. And, you know, the house was completely dysfunctional, and I remember being young and seeing that stuff, and I used to be like, I can't wait till I'm a little bit bigger and a little stronger so I could protect my mom, and can't nobody put her hands on, you know what I mean, on my mom. And did that transfer over into you at all, the physical abuse? I'd say I was physically abused by my mother. Okay. You know, my dad disciplined me. Yeah. But he didn't abuse me. He disciplined me with love. Gotcha. But my mother, like I said, being as though that my father favored me, the house was split up between me and my dad, my mother and my other brother. So she would sort of take it out on you? Anything that you know, that he did, or anything that she didn't like, she took it out on me. Yeah, got you. Yep. Okay. And how old were you when you first started getting in trouble? My life changed drastically after my father committed suicide. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Thank you. How old were you? I'd say I was 9 years old. Wow, so that's a whole lot to deal with as a 9-year-old, losing a parent, especially in that fashion then. Absolutely. So
Wow. How did you deal with that? You said your life changed drastically.
Yes, my life changed drastically. Like I said, it was a regular. I mean, the night that my father committed suicide, you know, the things that happened that night was a normal occurrence. I guess Dad, he blew all his money, or a lot of his money that week, his check on drugs. So, you know, my mother scolded him for that, and he beat on her that night, and it was just a lot of fighting. And I remember that night, my dad telling me, get out the house, go play somewhere. And it was around the summertime. It was around my birthday. I'm born in June. So yeah, like I said, it was a normal occurrence. That wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I leave the house, you know, dishes break and all, yelling and stuff like that, and I go around the corner to play. So I see my dad leaving that night, and I run up to him. It was so crazy that I called my father his street name.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up calling my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I call him Jay. So I asked him, I said, Jay, where you going? He said, you know, I'm going to the bar. It's getting late, going to the house. So, like I said, it was 5 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment. So for the most part, we all slept in the same bed. But that night I ended up sleeping on the couch, and I heard my dad coming in from the bar. And he woke me up, and I could smell the liquor on his breath. And he told me, you know, go in bed with your mom. I went in bed with my mother, and I woke up hearing my mother on the phone with 911, telling them that she found her husband in the basement hanging. Oh, God. So, you know, I'm hearing this. I had my head under the covers, and I really couldn't wrap my mind around, you know, what I was hearing. So, pretty much, I stayed in the room, and it was like a whole circus, man. It was a whole circus. People, the ambulance in the house, my mother's yelling, crying. They ended up calling the pastor. I grew up in church. My grandmother had me in church, my father's mother all my life. So our pastor, I remember him coming in the room, you know, trying to talk to me, and he's like on his, you know, he got down on one of his knees, and he's talking to me, and I'm not hearing anything he's saying. I'm trying to get around to see, you know, what the hell's going on with my dad. So I ran around him and tried to get down to the basement to see him. And as I got to the top of the basement steps, they were bringing his body up. And, you know, that's when it kind of hit me, you know?
Wow. So,
you know, as you can imagine, that next week or two was very hectic, and I didn't cry. I just, you know, I really didn't understand what was going on.
You was in shock.
I was in shock.
At that age. I know when in 2004, my mother was killed and I had to identify her body. I was in shock.
To hear that too.
You know, I was in shock. Right. I couldn't sleep because all I seen was her on the corner slab. I didn't cry. Same thing for a while because I was just in shock. I didn't know how to process what I was feeling and everything. And especially you being that young, 9 years old, that's, oh my God. You know, my daughter's 10, my son's 5, my other kids they're around that age, so I can't even fathom how they would deal with something like that. A child's mind is way too delicate.
Way too delicate.
And knowing that that's gonna have a huge impact on the rest of their life. You know, those years are so important. And were you filled with anger? What made you, now did you start acting out because of dealing with that or trying to deal with that?
Yeah, I can tell you it was an incident that happened that completely changed me. And what happened was, you know, after we buried my father and stuff like that, like I said, I was holding it in the whole time. And my father did music.
Okay.
That was his thing. Like, he had me in the studio and stuff when I was a small kid. My dad was very talented, man, and I think that was one of the reasons that he committed suicide, man, because, you know, he has so much going on with it. He has so much talent and so much I know that he knew in his mind that he was destined for so much more.
Yeah.
And he felt like he was in a box. He had these children, and he had this dead-end job.
Yeah.
And he was dealing with these drugs, and he's trying to go to church and be a good man, but he's beating my mom. And I witnessed my father rape my mother. And I guess he just figured in his mind, man, that you know, he wasn't worth it anymore. And I guess he felt like we would be better off without him. I actually found his suicide note.
Wow.
My mother, I don't know why she would leave it around, but I found it. And I read it. And my father, you know, his whole suicide note was very angry. He had a lot of hatred. And he told my mother, now you got what you always wanted. You know, this is what you wanted, now you got it. And he was cursing at her and saying all kinds of stuff. And pretty much him committing suicide was him getting back at my mother.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times, I know I've been, I always struggle with mental health, and I've been suicidal where I didn't want to live no more. There was times where I had a gun in my mouth, and the only reason I didn't do it was because at the time, it was before I had kids, but my little sister, I'm super close. We have a super special relationship, and the only reason I didn't is because my baby sister, I was like, it was right after my mom passed, and I said there's no way she can deal with taking another loss like this.
How selfish would that be?
Yeah. So, and I realized that, and I didn't realize that until later, but by us committing suicide, it takes all the hurt we're feeling and it gives it to those we love the most.
Absolutely.
You know, so like you said, it's extremely selfish for us to do that, but sometimes we'd be like, we're in so much pain and don't know what to do. Did you have any resentments to your mother or anger towards your mother after that? Like thinking, you know, oh, were you blaming her at all or anything like that?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, good.
Definitely wasn't blaming my mother for any of that. You know, like I said, me and my mother had a rocky relationship already. She abused me.
Yeah.
But I started to hate my mother because shortly after my father died, I found my mother naked with a man in the house.
Yeah.
I found her butt naked with this guy. And I remember that moment broke my heart so bad. It hurt me so bad that I instantly looked at my mother like she was a whore. And you know, like, how could you how could you do that? My father just died in this house.
Yeah.
And you're in this house with a stranger naked.
Yeah.
In the bed. And you know.
How's your relationship with your mother now?
We've just actually started to patch up our relationship.
Awesome. Awesome.
I've, you know, since I've become a man, I realized that my mother didn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know any better. She has mental illness issues. And even though, you know, I would never do anything like that, like the things that she did to me. I mean, my mother used to beat me.
Yeah.
My mother never told me she loved me. She never hugged me, never told me she loved me. She treated me very badly growing up, and I didn't even have any idea of what love was until I met my son's mother. And I thought that that's what love was, and I poured everything into her, and then I tried to find love in the streets with the guys, and it was just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, man. So I grew up very cold, and like I said, I hated my mother for a long time, man. And my mother, I started going to jail and stuff like when I was about 13 years old. Like after that, my father died, and I found my mother with that guy, and it was other men after that. I started to act out. I mean, I dropped out of school when I was in 6th grade.
Wow. I
stopped going to school altogether when I was in 6th grade. So my mother sent me to Virginia with my aunt, and they showed me a lot of love, man. But you know, I'm in country ass Virginia. I'm there by myself. I'm from Philadelphia. I feel like nobody likes me. I'm getting into fights all the time.
Yeah.
So they sent me back to Philly, and it was just, I mean, I was trying to commit suicide when I was a kid. I used to do things like this. I used to go tell my mom, I'm gonna go kill myself right now.
Yeah.
Just to see how she would react, just to get attention. And my mom would be like, boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, you know what I'm saying? Slap me, get the fuck out of my face with that shit. And I would go in the room and actually try to do it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is gonna show you, you know, this is gonna hurt you. We'll see how much you care now.
Yep, I'll show you, I'll hurt me.
I'll hurt me.
Yep.
I'll drink poison thinking that it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And I could never go through with it, man, but I had that was just my childhood, man. It was very sad. Thinking back on it now, man, a lot of times it makes me want to cry because it's like, why would it, there's no reason a child, man, should be going through those things,
yep.
man. It's very sad.
Yep. I think of that all the time now when I'm spending time with my son and we might be laying down in bed and we're watching something on TV and I got him laying on my chest and I'm, you know, playing in his hair or playing with his ear or something. And he tells me, Daddy, I love you. Daddy, you're the best. I think back on my childhood and I'd be like, man, I'm so glad that my son, I might not be able to give him the best in the world, but I can give him the best of me. And that's all we can do as parents is give our children the best version of us. That's what they deserve. And sometimes it's easier done than others. Sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it's easy to do. How old were you when drugs started coming into play?
You know, I was like about 12 or 13, started smoking weed and drinking here and there. I've experimented with a lot of drugs throughout my life. Like, it was a certain time where smoking wet, PCP was like the wave. I was smoking a little bit of that, and but I never was a person that was addicted to any drugs. Like, I never was a person that did drugs on a regular. It was more like a social thing with me. But I got into heavy drugs and when I was 30 years old. Okay. Yep.
And what, if you could say one thing that brought that on, what was it?
I'd say depression.
Got you.
I was living out of state. I really didn't know anyone. I was in a relationship I really didn't want to be in. But my loyalty to this person, being as though that they showed me so much love, kept me in that relationship. And prior to me doing heroin, I started to drink all the time. I was drinking all the time, and I'd say it was just my depression, man. I've been dealing with depression all my life. Yeah. Due to the things that happened to me in my life, but at that moment, it was like at its peak. Yeah. I guess I could say I peaked, and I was out of town just trying to make my way. A friend of mine told me to come out there, a friend of mine that I was upstate with, and I want to say he kind of sold me a dream because he was making a lot of money, and he was like, yo, come out here with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to be in Philly, you don't got to be carrying guns, you know, you don't got to worry about the drama, you just come out here and I'll plug you in with me and we'll get money. So I'm like, bet. I go out there and I'd say, I don't want to say he left me out there stinking, but it wasn't what he said it was, you know. He continued to make all the money, and every time I went to him, like, yo, what's up, bro? You know, oh, I got you, man. Just, you know, just be patient. Yeah. And, you know, my patience turned into a year down the line, and you know, I was making my little moves. I wasn't just sitting around, but it just didn't work out the way I thought it was gonna work out. So now I'm out of state. I'm in a place where I don't know anyone. I'm with the female that I really don't know. And I'm just trying to make my way, man. And it was very hard. It was very hard my first year. I even had crazy thoughts, man. I was kind of angry at this person. I wanted to hurt this person, man. I wanted to take him under, man. But you know, me being me and me growing up with morals, even though I had a messed up childhood, I had a grandmother that loved me very much, that took me to church and that taught me right. Yeah. So, you know, I would always tell myself, you know, at the end of the day, I love this guy. No matter what, I still love this guy. This is still one of my guys. I did a lot of time upstate with him, and he don't owe me nothing. This was my mentality. He don't owe me nothing. The way he got it, I can get it. You know what I'm saying? So I just got to make my way, and you know, I'm not gonna do nothing to him because, you know, I couldn't live with myself doing something to a guy that I really had love for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it started, man. One day, I was taking my girlfriend out to Hibachi's for her birthday, and I was going to in the drawer to get the money, and there was a gram of heroin in there that somebody was supposed to come and get. They never came to get it, and I said, you know what? Let me, you know, do a little bit of this. Nobody will know. It's not gonna affect me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like them.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
I was so in love with myself.
Yeah.
You know, and they say in the Bible that pride comes before the fall. So that's what happened. And you know, and going into my second year out of town, I ended up making some money. I ended up starting to do, you know, good for myself.
Yeah.
And I brought, like I said, I wasn't satisfied with my relationship, so I talked my woman into bringing another woman into the relationship. And that was pretty much the beginning of the end, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So now, how long have you been using?
I've been using about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
Coming up on 4 years.
How has your life changed in that time?
My life wasn't peaches and creams before that. But one thing that I will say is that I had a high respect for myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I loved myself, because now that I'm starting to understand what loving yourself really means, I wouldn't say that I loved myself, but I had a lot of respect for myself in terms of keeping myself looking good, not just going for anything, you know, making my money. And I had been through a lot of things prior to the situation I was in. So in my mind, I was a soldier. I was a general, and I respected myself. And the one thing, the drastic thing that happened in these years is that I lost respect for myself. I started to look at myself like I was a loser. And I started to like really believe it. It got to the point where, you know, like I said, I lost everything that I had due to drugs, due to my attitude. I ended up having to come back, live down here in Kensington, man, after I was living in the suburbs for a few years. And man, the depression that I was in, man, was just perpetual. You know what I'm saying? It was just perpetual. And as the years went on, I started to lose respect, and I started to lose faith in myself. So that's the most drastic thing that I say what happened, is that I lost respect for myself.
Now, if somebody was to offer you a program, would you take it?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who was thinking about coming down to Kensington to get high?
The advice I would give you is this. Sit back and really evaluate your life. Evaluate yourself and really think about what you're about to do. Whatever's going on in your life right now, I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not as bad as you think it is. It's definitely not as bad as you think it is. Coming down here to Kensington, in the beginning, the drugs are going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel strong. It's going to make you feel like you're on top of the world. But in a very short time, you're gonna lose all of that. Everything is gonna go. First, the money's gonna go, then your family's gonna go, then your self-respect. You're gonna lose everything, and you're gonna end up hating yourself and wanting to die every day of your life. So, my advice to you, whoever is feeling like, you know, they want to escape doing drugs, my advice to you is to really take a second look and try to find any other way to deal with whatever issues you're dealing with. Talk to somebody, go to counseling, church, God, whatever it is, man. Like, just try to find another way, because drugs are not the answer, man. Drugs is gonna destroy you, man. It's gonna destroy your family. It's gonna destroy everything around you, man.
Yes. Very well said, brother. I thank you for sitting down and talking to me. I got a lot of love for you. I remember there's certain people that you come across in life that you'd look and you'd be like, all right, this person is selling themselves short, and I see that with you. You know what I mean? I see it, and I'm not telling you nothing you don't know either. You know that you're very smart. You know that. You know you're selling yourself short right now, brother. And I'll keep you in prayer. You have my number. I would love for you to get clean sooner than later, so you could be out here doing this with me. You know what I mean? I definitely know that you would be an asset. You know, I know that. You know what I mean? You're a good brother. You're a good brother. And I don't say that about too many people. You're a good brother all the way around the board. Any questions you have for me before we go?
Yeah. My question to you is, what happened in your life? What moment? What happened, and what moment did you actually say, you know what, I'm done. I'm completely done. What was going on in that at that time?
It was like a light switch went off. I overdosed. April 24th, 2016, I overdosed after being clean for a while. I had a single relapse, overdosed. My son woke my wife up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and my son was 2 years old at the time. He woke my wife up and was like, where's daddy? And I had just got high like a little while before that. I had to wait until everybody went to sleep to get high because I was hiding it. And so my son woke my wife up, said, where's daddy? My wife, instead of telling him, yo, go back to bed, I'm sleeping, she was like, well, let me go see where I'm at. Comes in the bathroom, finds me basically dead. I spent 3 days in the hospital. And when I came home from the hospital, the first words out of my son's mouth was, he said, Daddy, you died. Because that's what he heard, the ambulance, 911. And I looked at him and I said, oh no, I'm not gonna have my son come visit me in a casket for something I did. I said, my son needs me. And I don't want my son to go through anything that I've been through. So I know the only way to prevent that is to get clean.
Right.
You know, and I always feel like if I get clean, if I stay clean and I'm a good father, everything else will fall into place. If I'm a good father, I'm not going to be doing things to risk my freedom because I'm going to be a good father. You know, I'm going to be making sure the bills are paid before I go out and do some other dumb shit. You know, so I just that was it. You know, that was it. My son telling me, Daddy, you died. That was enough to scare me, and the love I have for him, you know, there's nothing I won't do for him. He's my everything.
Right.
You know, as long as, and the same thing with my other kids also, but me and my son, we have a special bond because of that. I know for a fact that was God that woke him up and had him come at 2 years old and be like, yo, go wake your mom up. You know what I'm saying? That was God that woke him up. Point blank simple. That was God that woke him up to save my life. Without him, I wouldn't be here. So that's what it was, you know, and my life it hasn't been easy, but it's been beautiful since. And it's worth it. You know, I thank you, and we're going to keep in contact, and I have faith that things will work themselves out. We just got to make it happen sooner than later, brother.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.